Then so that but might have didn't invite most of the not for that to be able to that straight away show up and straight away head to Wednesday out. But have that frame of fighting. But it would be definitely not the scenario that I'm looking for. So like I'm so different from actually I'm definitely showing up or like actually even though we have it might be having like the power to like straight away train Wednesday to master of like psychic powers and abilities that still until the point that we are spirit might be of that the mindset of that basically wanting Wednesday to earn in that earn some way through experience and hardships and Wednesday to like eventually make it to like the point of being able to like master Wednesday that psychic abilities and so that until that point for Wednesday to that be on a journey of that being more and more aware of that slowly becoming more and more aware of how to control and tap into that deeper powers of that psychic powers of that instead would be along the lines like through all that hard work and hardship and through all that experience like from Wednesday to next earn that mastery might be exactly what that the state of failure might be wanting. Exactly my preference. So like definitely the failure not straight away that I think that's the output mastering the psychic ability. Instead like I'm putting that failure with showing up right now and will be most likely telling Wednesday to like follow Wednesday's like instinct and basically to do exactly what feels right to Wednesday all days and days leave as long as Wednesday does that like it will eventually lead Wednesday towards that Wednesday's like desires and goals will be along the lines of that the only dialogue that I'm personally only putting for that today I don't feel that Wednesday today I don't feel to like right now so often I don't say straight away there's like guidance with scenario that I'm visiting so that the name is interesting right now that figure even to the person might be not be able to that move on from that let's say even from that the Wednesday having dance like the at like the ravings with like fire of like and still figure even the person might be so obsessed with like things like that he might still even to the person might not be able to doesn't that space and be able to like move on from mental maybe like that with supplement friends. So like failure might have maybe came down to the conclusion that basically not for failure to that get first to which way that the only way is for that failure to that learn even more than Wednesday and even to further than Wednesday about like the secrets of that never more was like Wednesday like thinking basically that basically for failure to like learn more about it so that like basically figure thing like and like so that they figure and that way to like for figure to like join with like investigation of like Wednesday and basically continue to the mystery of like more and that way only through like means of like helping Wednesday with like this like mystery and investigation that like Wednesday is like sort of like solved alone it's like the only way to like savior to be able to like get close to Wednesday might be along the line flexible, might have eventually came down to the conclusion or like might have even pressed eventually might be like the minimum parameters. So like the able to bring like Saber might have done its own personal study about like those fractions like this like maybe most likely through like the books in like this is the library maybe in like the past itself, like they got might have read a certain extent of like the books that like the people library and like never might be like the case that minimum framework. So that means Savior might know a certain extent of that the details comes to the like history of that so the action might see that escape that minimum framework. So that the framework for that so that's the message left for Wednesday to meet at like the correct like might have been definitely left by Sage or definitely not general. So that they have to find that one like one step would be like really hoping to like meet to the spirit something like the correct like uh about the correct like one step taking the and basically like meeting with that absolute disappointment of like the feeling on seeing like savior and like realizing that like the savior that had like dropped the message for like Wednesday. If that the possibility of like a scenario that I'm the world looking at and three. I can say that going to my particular impression that it brings for like each scenario that favor that totally showing up to like those questions but then at that point favor getting irritated by seeing that the presence of like any similar like outside like the like the scenario that I mentioned. Certainly without of like favor might have been okay for things for that as well priority but that can still say that Liam was trying to scare anything away like on for dependent exactly say that still element friends and might say that might only have like the power to transform into like an also that for the point savior that after self like transforming into this like monster form and basically trying to like steer anything left away from that the like within our but like I'm doing savior like strategy the like starting and basically anything left savior at that point might have been only expecting for like anything less like run away from that instead of that doing that like and like and similar of that doing that running into open the door and entering like the first and like opening the door behind the like the scenario that and the so like feeling like the scare in like and the like Wednesday quickly opening like the door of like the first and basically totally finding that no more software like at that point like the scenario that so like at that point I'm so different for like Wednesday totally deciding to like totally straight away think that like the most of net are going away and basically Wednesday deciding to that focus on exploring that the in the area within like the scenario that I'm talking about. So that the I'm different like Wednesday will be also like will be like calling out for like the Adams as well like scenario that but like the Adams not appearing at all like the scenarios that I'm talking about. So like at that point like and Wednesday not finding anything interesting within like the script as well as like the scenario initially like the scenario that I'm doing. Like at that point I thought Wednesday being disappointed and like when they will be about let's say and will be about to leave the first like at that point I'm different like savior like most likely entering that it's separate most likely from that the backside of like and for the for that to be that a secret door on the backside of it which like savior might already known about that savior might have explored like the so might have been the case but even for this so that way like to the back end like I'm like savior in like human form like entering while that way attempting to like when staying to saying like the most person that is the fundamental friend like the right then like and absolutely no something at all to like favor so up to that like the in the problem scenario that another friend also that me might be very understand right now that fire filtering when I might be a diet of that like job of custom that when he was alive might have always that being on the trend. It might be like that cat reflecting of that job of custom that like the people back then might have who might have all seen that there's a fraction of that and those heroes might use to that favorite line that like the fire will rain when your correction price might be like the case. I think that those 5 into the percent is like a hero of like the reload the recorder based by the making for like the actuality of that the situation considering the mindset might be certainly the people of Jericho most likely believe that basically through like the police like finding out about that when they like but finding like they out while taking like the greatest gas case the information about like the poison uh, of that gas case might not actually to like lead to like the people of Jericho by now. It's got remains for understand now. Also that and that couple with like the cover of like government background. So the thing like the people of like Jericho might also might be agreeing that this it might have been actually from or like someone from like the family that might have taken off like Dr. Vijay of that like the rumor at like Jericho person might be that like Adam's family somehow uh, found out about like operating like competition and basically like to prevent that competition from getting like the Adams family into trouble like someone from like the Adams family either Thomas or like Thomas from like the Adams family might have been like the purpose behind like the loss of like Dr. Reggie the silence of Treaty and like never more like it's totally even to represent this like supporting like the Adams family and like to protect like never more like a reputation like never more still into the present is like influencing the Arabs and protecting Rome into the present might be you know the lines Rome and like that and you will be along the lines so the present person like the people of the might be living the living on the people definitely exactly like how in like the like in like the past where like Rome was like a student at like never more like some and were like student at like never more during like the uh fine state fine situation of like something to like their case and still like the fact that like almost was upstairs and like then police like and basically even to the person like almost getting upstairs and once again police like it might be definitely due to that and never more films and never more probably influencing like the others might be that lack promises that lack never more like only protected promise and like that it might be along the lines some different like we the record may be very important so it's like probably it was through a fire that like truly Adam had to scale but like her like Adam's family I think that had gotten that taken out I think that they so uh, definitely am the different like this might be like the connection to with like fire will rain and like Joseph Braxton that might be that up this connection because like I believe that whenever Joseph Braxton like he was realizing that whenever he would be like training in like civilians and if he would be taking them out it might be always through fire but like he would be taking them out might be like the activity of like the situation of everyone and like while doing that he might even like repeat this like every same kind of that like when you write like fire will rain and that way like the people of like the people back then might have been seeing like when you look at them seeing like sort of cartoon that which sort of might have like that repeated like with like silent that like that your question himself might have repeated that like fire will rain when like you write might be like the case but even even to the person like and like the people of Jericho who sees like the question like as the hero might be aware of like the history between like the Adams family and the Christ as well as like just practice dialogue of like fire will rain is definitely not the same thing. So that Liam the different like it might be a declaration of like that absolute rebellion against like the Adam family as well as like nevermore that like the like like writing with like fire on the law of like nevermore that like fire will rain might have been at least been done by like people of Jericho like declaring the officially declaring the rebellion against like nevermore and like the Adam family and to bring down both in our modern select like that, and it might be like the union 300. So say like that definitely might be the 300 that like for like the people of Jericho, like the law of that Anvil Gate, like I think that Anvil Gate is what like used to be a problem figure. And like Jericho definitely able to find that the law of like Anvil Gate like might be something that might have affected like the people of Jericho, certainly not the so like the people of Jericho, so the fundamental reason at present might be believing that it's like the Thomas, that might be definitely the culprit. Like that be the fact that Thomas, even to the present, was free from like Charles like might also be creating that as a suspicion within like the people of Jericho. And definitely, at present, like the people of Jericho might be might be of like a determined mindset to like ensure that like from their perspective that like just so and basically Thomas uh, get like the deserved punishment for such that fine and to ensure this happens like basically eventually like I'm different from quite on like I'm so different like the people of Jericho starting a petition or like them putting that pressure on to like Mayor Walker to basically bring like the descendant of like the to bring like the descendant of like the fraction the descendant of like the fraction to like Jericho to bring down like the Arab family might be along the lines of different that right now what might be happening at like Jericho, like about the so that the so referring that the people of Jericho and the majority of them might be exactly like while seeing them being like as of Fraxton as like a hero like them might be also like blindly blame of like all the stories of like Joseph Fraxton and that Joseph Fraxton like getting rid of like demons and everything. So definitely on the different that the people of Jericho might be like the majority of them might be of like the belief that it's like and that like the Arab family are like covered by demons. So definitely to that get rid of that Arab family and like the people of Jericho might definitely want to like bring back like the descendant of like to the character. That might be most likely at the relevant like about the that and those golden so children Edgar to Kerikasian of possible and they give to that have Edgar Allan Poe go and give that punishment to that one might be along the lines of so liberating that the majority of the people of Jericho might be desperately desiring at present Stephanie friend. So like it might be due to like them to be that constantly believing that like the person they descendant of Joseph Franklin might be that Edgar Allan Poe could be that they definitely be able to that hope that the mayor could have bring Edgar Allan Poe to that Jericho and to bring down like that. And so this might be the reason for like the dialogue of the hero, which might be the take that fire will rain. that is leaking, that the most likely in the case of the records and such like being like the ones that might have done that exact value on the loan of that another more obviously. So that like basically not just like the Adams family, but also that the ones that like another more that they believe that like say there might be believing that like protected Thomas in like the past and even in like the person my parents the lines like the people there might be believing and like basically those culprits as well that for like so Edgar Allan Poe to like um so that later like as a good judgment on them as well, and maybe to like even or that might be along the lines of like the hopes that I'm looking like the feelings of that might be having like the possibility that I'm looking at. So like according to my consideration, like wrong or faster and read twice like basically as person like I'm different that the people who might have lost their faith in like the police might do like the activity because of the situation that given so that they might want like that age old like the 1600 uh like those of corrections like punishment kind of like a scenario still happen to like the culture uh behind like the lots of that and to get us so that that family might be and for that to happen through internet so definitely might be along the line like the majority of like the people of Jericho might be blindly of such belief and such wanting such punishment to happen even in like the present day uh, might be like that to the remembering. So that the belief might have the impression that Joseph Christstone might have been someone who might have claimed to be that connect of might have been the case that we went through. And then the remembering that in like the present day, like Edgar Allan Poe as well, that at present might be someone who as well claims to be an exorcist and that both Joseph Christstone as well as like Edgar Allan Poe might be in actuality of creating it and might not be actually exorcist might be or like they might not have like the knowledge to or that might be the tactic of figures that you know so that especially like how those of cracks don't trick people back then at present like that there go as well might be like might be like putting on that as a fake and tricking that people into that most likely gaining like all the popularity of like Edgar Allan Poe might be that that's the thing like implications of living for image. Yet like I'm looking like the for an instance people of like of like Jericho the majority of like them might be seeing that Edgar Allan Poe as that absolute descendant of like those Traxon is like either on par on like those Traxons that still might be along the lines of like in like I think rate of like in might be along the lines of like in a slight belief that the majority of like the people of like Jericho might be in a percentage that they unclaimed. Yes, so that definitely my doesn't very encouraging right now that like it might be definitely the return of like cultural and to Jericho as well as Nevermore that like Gori Adam uh might be telling Wednesday that like through the dialogue that like Crackstone is like and Crackstone is like it's maybe definitely due to unpredictable information that I get there and might be that the of like of and might be an excess that certainly might be certainly to be and close to might be that like the minimum for embassy and definitely also certainly protecting as for like the case that would be like so Wednesday might be definitely the case to that the mansion of that Edgar Allan Poe might be like the activity investigation the plaintiff and so but they that the actual mansion of that Edgar Allan Poe might be a bit far away from that Jericho. So definitely might be the English and so different that that exact like location that like Wednesday initially wanted to like head off to in like the beginning of like Wednesday like series like basically this like Wednesday so the help of like Tyler initially that exact location where like Wednesday initially very at the very beginning wanted to like go to from by taking a train like and something it might be at that exact location by sure this might be at that exact location where like Wednesday plan to go might be like exact location where like this like gate uh that like Duriana like the Duriana still Wednesday this might be like the mansion leads to the mansion of like Edgar Allan Poe etc its location might be definitely my passenger number. So that definitely my passenger impression right now is definitely get like without much great area number like today for that to be the select event at like Nevermore which would be spanning for like at least 3 or 4 phases like scenarios that are the so like I'm so different for like Wednesday. So might want to like the set off to like and I'm so different Wednesday maybe try then like finding closer to like the possibility of like where that the gate, the state, the fully like show Wednesday, like the locations that wedding might use. Like connecting to that, like I'm certain by then, like by the time it's like just even would be almost about the beginning. Wednesday finding close to like the possibility of like it might be. And I'm trying it to be a bit far away from like the record that me. My veterans and other thing also that the game Wednesday that we're taking advantage of this like even that would be like spanning for like the even that like and so the we spanning for like 3 or 4 days Wednesday taking advantage of that situation to and the game looking like Wednesday taking advantage of that situation of the event to like basically sneak out of that never more get Tyler is like the scenario that I'm looking at and definitely I'm looking like Saver as well like steadily following Wednesday and probably putting most likely as like Tyler and then they will be getting on to like the train line so you're going to go like train leaves like into the favor of that very lab we can take it and getting onto the train as well like the scenario that I'm still the brain. So definitely that way I'm looking like most likely I'm leaning more towards about the paper like to be like the group of like Tyler Wednesday and Saver that might be heading off with like Wednesday go to like um find this like location where the gate like to the like show Wednesday. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm leaning more towards like that scenario and definitely I'm looking Wednesday will be most likely assigning like assigning anything like to like the kids up for like Wednesday. Like Wednesday would be heading off and that would be like in the scenario that I'm looking brain. Okay, so that lead my thinking very question right now that I'm leaning more towards this, that at present like those part and like and current both might be 20 and both that was definitely in the range between definitely protecting as of right now the protecting the not the possibility of that the gate that like which is of like might be that the gates of like some whole mansion of like Edgar and Force just being my friends where like there might be definitely flow something to that Edgar and even back then that was the like formulating all this like criteria plan to like how to like bring down that especially my career. So and about that environmental being that the descendant of like the structure that about this much close like I'm referring to that it might be within that gate and the mansion uh activation like that those gates might be connected to this like also the dynamic like it might be that whole abandoned mansion of that at the run might be that the gate like about the that I'm right now leaning more to it is so that sort of name of friends right now that basically may have walk up might be typically has been experienced in a fixed side that it might be like active into the name of friends and sitting on the play about like walk up quite a lot to that next but when you like sure like after like the loss of the character like the after that sir Walker found out about like the person like I'm totally understanding that he might have really gone up to ask about like the person like he might have gone up to like the form of like central gates and like at that point I'm bring that central gates already might have had too much and might have been like like Satan like once like the once like Walker even asked about the person at that point just like he might have really broke down and basically might have there's an in that route United States, he might have definitely revealed everything. And like definitely Black Walker might be totally right about that profile of this Black Walker revealed to Wednesday. But that different situation might have been definitely that at that point like Walker might have stayed away decided to uh Walker could even back then might have totally had his like ice sweat on last becoming like the might have totally seen that as like an absolute realistic opportunity for him to like totally blackmail like Hansel Gate into like basically making it as like the mayor into having Hansel Gates like sort of like influence and basically ensure that ensure that Walker makes it as like the mayor might be along the line that Walker might have planned in his mind on that very night itself that once like Walker might have found out the truth from like atrocity and the case might have been the case. So like the very next day, the very next morning, like Walker might have showed up to like empty gates home and might have blackmailed empty gates and definitely might have scared empty gates and that way through force like I'm keeping that Walker might have that way through force like might have resulted in that empty gates like out of fear like basically that ensuring that and making it happen for Walker, and maybe it was like a man that Walker might have even made it as the mayor certainly, but eventually or that was of initially number of months or years I'm currently what might have happened might have ended up being the member and that and to get might have had that absolute get increase more and more with each day it reflects the loss of the get connected to the loss of from cascade as well as the get connected to the uh, comes to innocent innocent bonus basically getting after maybe from that point and basically all of that basically and the people still suspecting and believing that people are still believing that it's bonus that the culture behind the loss of uh, gas case and everything and hearing all this people talking about this lecture and everything might have to ensure something can get that surrounding that absolute kid and eventually as the yes might have wanted to open up and let out the truth to everyone at very good. So never know might have been the case for human person, but and to get might have been the first stop to walk up in by then might have made it as especially according to my friends, especially might have been the case for human friends. So it might have been at that point Walker that might have told and to get that basically it's fine that basically that uh, that will make the arrangement for and so gates to make unpercent to everyone Jericho as well as everyone can never know might be along the lines Walker might have lied and tricked and the gates and basically on that very night on the next day Walker will be making that preparation and arrangement might be along the line Walker might have lied and the gates and on that very night itself that lead might have been Walker that might have like uh, taken out and the gates as well as his wife and might have train the train continuing to appear at the is being the loss being due to their skin might have been what might have happened to the league might have been so definitely absolutely mentioning that for there to be an extreme villanistic side, secret villanistic side to Walker. Definitely might have been that into the novel and definitely so different in the fields of Walker as well as games probably joining forward to definitely bring down Wednesday and character and the scenario that totally different and incorrect. Also, the news and the reimbursement that I was thinking that Wednesday had will birthday from Friday 13th and definitely I think Wednesday most likely on this very night Friday 13th so recording Wednesday most likely either most likely gain some sort of power a different power sometimes Wednesday different power I'm Wednesday getting an upgrade for a totally new kind of power psychic kind of a new kind of power. So that is the scenario that I'm looking for for them. Also, definitely my book during right now, just for eventually for Tyler to get taken out either by the monster or by a government eventually Tyler getting taken out the scenario that I'm looking for. And that way I'm different. That way Wednesday remembering the word of to Adam Wednesday to be alone and that Wednesday will be feeling sorry for it as well. Might be definitely connected might be the way foreshadowing of future incidents which today I don't think which today even as a person might be able to story and might be giving close connected to that might be through these style of today and Wednesday might be that to be of many situations like about the picture and the on the program of game. Yes, the news may put their impression right now that it might have been that in the select selfie take out Eugene that Kimbo right now might have changed to that hospital. It's definitely not very impression to Kimbo right now maybe only have to realize to that Wednesday because might be very impression right now is that it might have been definitely Kimbo that might have been the monster that attack Eugene is definitely not very impression. So definitely on the spring there was with last second in spring Eugene might have also recognized the identity of Nocturne as Kimbo Turtle and might have then found out Kimbo while at the monster jumping towards Eugene at that very last second as well. By most likely Eugene smelling the perfume of Kimbo. Definitely on the spring Eugene might have had a previous session with Kimbo. Might have been the case of remember it. And definitely on the spring Eugene might have recognized the scent of that import that perfume from that the monster might have been that like, while like the monster was that Chabi and nailed close towards that Eugene might have been what might have happened with the new friend. So that the Eugene might have recognized at that point might have at that very last point might have recognized like the identity of like, the monster and like in that's the new friend. So like that they are person like and so that import as well as like things um as well as like content might be feeling totally uneasy of that the possibility of that if that region recovers like the total information that the most of identity getting revealed to that uh, everyone as well as like Wednesday might be along time that as in fear that things as well as like content as well as imports might be having it for the like about the that I'm referring and definitely I'm referring that users that might always that stay might be always take absolute extreme good care of like region and might be most of the time might be beside sitting beside like spending time beside using it might be like that within situation depending on the like it might have been a tiny brief window which like through the stealthy observation through either taunting or like import that they might have figured that of like this tiny window where like which they were like both Eugene's parents won't be present beside Eugene and that it might be that way in a calculated manner like import right now might have shown up to that stealthy take out Eugene while unexpectedly encountering when they might have been what might have happened right now is definitely an incident that I'm sitting on. So that's definitely my comprehension right now that Shinbot as well as that person as well as the might be that person might be having like the plan to actually take out that Eugene has one of the that they attack Owen. It might be like definitely on trend. It's more definitely that in that flower that Shinbot has to that to like the hospital like definitely I'm referring that within that flower like and within there might be secretly taunting hiding distance within that flower definitely not in taunting that grasshopper definitely not since like we didn't have this like detected like an unusual grasshopper I think like on the very night that before like Udin was like attacked by the monster like the young person might have been think what that might have been like the monster that attacked Udin while might have been like Tonkin that might have been sleeping once uh in like the form like a grasshopper the meaning of tension like Tonkin might be able to like transform and shape it into a grasshopper the new representation like definitely would that still be take out that Legion like and like Tonkin might be hiding in some Shirazo, tiny Shirazo or within those cloud. I feel like that with the definitely and so like the thing right now since like what's important leaving that the hospital, but like I'm referring with that as so still no I'm totally preparing for like something like like the flower uh out of the Shirazo form into a human form and like something and straight away like something attempting to like take out the genus like the scenarios that I'm expecting. And that yes, I'm looking like the scenario that I'm looking for like important leaving that Eugene home and like I'm looking like downhill coming out of like the capital platform to be like the human form and will be slowly walking close towards like the better Eugene to like take out like the better Eugene. But like exactly at that point like in the like calculative manner like let's say would be most likely suspecting that like the possibility of like the person of import most likely connected to like phase up to like Eugene like I'm referring like Wednesday. So like I'm going to print for like Wednesday so leaving like the room of like Eugene and quickly hiding and basically pretending to have left that hospital and that Wednesday will be steadily observing while hiding and basically seeing that involved in the that Eugene home. It's like the scenario that I saw. So like at that point like Wednesday with that after like quickly will be re-entering back to like Eugene's home and at that point, like I'm so different that for like when stage of me finding that context from that using for that it's an art that I'm going to like so maybe like human form is an art that I'm going to so like at that point I'm different like content like for the in an insecure manner like quickly to like personal that I'm going to and not going to so certainly at that point I'm so different that I'm still shocking realizing that the extreme change of situation in which that agent is in and so that in the foreign like for like the time being like when they totally giving the order to like the hand thing to like to like stay freedom at like Eugene's room for like Eugene's protection until Eugene's patrol and that way like once I think like Eugene's patrol like and put like hands like giving the order to like thing to like stay at like Eugene's room like stay at like Eugene's room is like the scenario that I'm going to bring out of the language. Yes, so that need my brain my writing of that may have one character and might be doing extremely into and afraid of that the possibility of that when playing like that figuring out about like about the my brain and the sometimes might have been a walk up that might have been taken out like and to give as well as that is quite as well as the minimum brain rate. So that need and this might be the reason for that ever since that the black by Memphis and Wednesday and that Mayor Walker like basically was actively collecting all the details documents connected to that the family of my dad is like minimum might have been details elected to like Walker himself that might have done it and might have taken them all out might have been like the most likely to that meant to be like having that kept feeling and wanting to reveal the truth to that vendor of Nevermore as well as like Jericho uh, about the truth and that way since that like the things that happen things like Walker will be inducing is may of course due to Walker hiding social information about the boyfriend getting a reveal basically uh, definitely might have been Walker that might have taken the whole life definitely one frame so definitely that even the light going on at recently at the head of Anthem Gate might have been definitely Mayor walk up inside basically in the middle of the night secretly sneaking into uh, and infiltrating into the home of Anthem Gate and basically to see if we have left any evidence behind that might connect the takeout of Anthem Gate as well as the as well as his wife he has so much any evidence at the home of the that might have the potential to connect their love to Walker might be along the lines of that fear and panic it might be something within Walker where Walker is definitely my good impression and definitely I'm looking Wednesday usually finding out about it is the scenario that I'm looking over thing. But definitely even though Wednesday will be figuring out about it I'm looking Wednesday uh, not having any evidence to back up that claim, that scenario that happening. And yeah, pretty much when we'll be figuring it out, let's just straight away meeting Galpin and basically will be telling Galpin about the about the villains of uh and walk up scenario that I'm doing and Galpin definitely not at all believing Wednesday at all. It's so, and at the same time getting even enraged at Wednesday due to the bond between bond of friendship which Galpin might be everyone might be having towards Walker and Walker might not inaccuracy might not be having towards Galpin might be that process between the emotions. So definitely this is the scenario that I'm looking and definitely at that point definitely Wednesday once again meeting Mayor walk up and basically at that point Wednesday threatening walk up about basically about Wednesday being aware of the extreme villains of walk up and basically in taking out the entirety of the remaining Gates family members and basically Wednesday making that absolute threat to Walker to definitely bring to villains of information about the villains and Walker to light and in front of the people of Jericho as well as never eventually along the lines Wednesday making that threat to Walker and then so the bring up from that point on when I'm with Walker I still definitely uh, sitting in mind to definitely frame get Wednesday frame and get Wednesday just behind also to take out Wednesday. Be along the line Wednesday brings as a top biggest priority in Walker will be making is in the scenario that I'm saying. And that uh that that situation I'm also bringing Walker closer to that screen and basically that bond getting formed between network and means with that common goal to frame and bring down Wednesday and and scenario that I'm going to bring in friends. Yes, so my clear understanding right now is that Wednesday after Eugene getting attacked by the mentor in the defense sense might be feeling that extreme guilt within and basically Wednesday might be then might have been feeling that approach towards anyone who's who gets close to Wednesday getting into serious trouble and maybe even end up about to get back then getting taken off. Maybe along the lines of that seems that might have set in within Wednesday community. So it might be solely definitely Wednesday even though they down might want to phone uh the go out with Tyler that but it might have been solely due to Wednesday no wanting Tyler as well Eugene getting into any trouble because of that Wednesday. And especially that with that type of situation, even being that Koreans like still even warning Wednesday that Wednesday will be always alone. Like and even that warning of like Korean spirit as well might have given Wednesday a strong feeling that if we anyone Wednesday let anyone gets close to like Wednesday like too close to like Wednesday like the positive like them as well ending up sharing like the faith of that might be along the lines that and this might be like the meaning behind like the one of that Durian maybe along the lines where that person might be thinking and believing and might be of like the mindset that person is living on premise. Also, especially my premise right now that like might also be actually might also feel like to like Wednesday about like the law of that Owen might be that actually of like the new premise that Owen might actually be alive what's that no studying looking to like any kind of state might that the revision of that will might have been like even private. So that somewhere in like some shielding in like the surrounding forms, like support surrounding now more like when that there might be some secret building where like I'm in that room might be put into like an kind of state that leave the frame. So definitely that might be definitely the reason for like that savior like nightmare. Not of nightmare as well as like they are getting all these like moments of nightmare as well as like failure like changing even like attacking failure like all this that might be definitely due to like might be all owns that remote telekinetic powers that tools might be like the implement rendition that not telekinetic powers but like the own power might have developed and like has been that from that remote some kind of state like our own might have been feeling that absolute frustrated towards like specifically say that because like it winds might have reduced the level in that like according to my preference it might have been say but that might have been like the monster that attacked like around certainly my preference and like winds might know this well and like winds might have revealed this to like on and definitely that way like around might have been really soft and like been 20% because of like how badly Owens wants to like went down Wednesday and about like say and like the person realized that their ultimate failed that like Savior protected attack Owen to like protect Wednesday that might have been too much to like handle for like the person going that like into like Owens like might be for a while for like getting put into that investment state might be filled with that upward thought of lack of age towards like Savior and that might be manifesting as like all this like nightmare for like Savior as well as like Savior by being forced to like uh, through all this like flaming of like the monster and basically that's the pain coming alive and basically attacking like Satan like or might be due to the effects of like powers of like the person point which might have developed over time after getting put into like in kind of like state by most likely games might be what might have happened certainly the possibility that I'm trying I'm not sure we also like the much very interesting right now it's that like say that maybe starting Wednesday almost like the entire time definitely might be like that with the producer definitely my friend and that way like like say that might have strongly been skeptic south on Wednesday when Wednesday went to Silas Cafe actively Wednesday when asking Silas about like the going on like the date like even that as well as specifying all the like from like Taylor might have been that and that time might have been still the fine and like Storm's Wednesday and might have heard all of that definitely all the conversation between like Kylo and Jen plays something in the image. So definitely it might be at that point that like Taylor might have quickly head back to its like place the paper of like and which game might have quickly around this like by saying that around Wednesday instantly Saber might have uh, the gate, the drawing of the gate and say that might have quickly that point they got might have quickly head back to select on place and might have quickly from like the version of that gate and basically might have been patiently waiting for like and hoping for like when they out of like the person like eventually ending up like taking the help from like say that might be along the lines like say that might have naturally done the might be the reason for like Wednesday even like playing like the violin as well, like say that having drawing things, the drawing of that as well being present at like say the space might be due to the reasons that the member said say that since like Wednesday, since like they were even finding out about like uh Wednesday even joining or more like in the different since then like a friend say that might have been stopping Wednesday non-stop might be less likely to the situation you might understand that point. The other thing that Wednesday while figure anything while shop Wednesday certainly not created not for what pure might out in that time certainly not created. So like figure a person might be also in line to that Wednesday about that basically about that vision about that a couple of days back about like it might feel such an absolute like compliment for him because like figure might be at certain like a strategy of that figure to get close to that Wednesday might be to that of the that they are showing at certain like figure might literally think that they will say that like figure won't be able to like bring Wednesday to uh, stop following and chasing subversions might be along the lines of bring that strong feeling that Taylor might be having for the like Sager at person might be feeling that like the only way for the Taylor to get close to the have a chance with that Wednesday and to get close to that Wednesday will be solely by helping Wednesday out in this like investigation and that way through consistent like stalking and like helping out of like Wednesday for like to create such an absolute reliance on Savior for like Wednesday instead of like kind of for help in like Wednesday's investigation and that way to like get close to like Wednesday might be along the lines like Savior might be right now attempting certainly not to anything. Yes, so like certainly not to anything right now for like Robert right now still like totally like and then yeah, think that basically that it was like more pizza that basically took out like the family of like Cascade due to like the house of like the innocent form of like Morticia and embrace Morticia getting a revenge by taking out like Cascade's like father like and engaged them to like wife had been what might have happened and to create like false since he create like false evidence uh to like connect Morticia towards like the uh law of like the take towards like the takeout of that and the gates and his wife, which definitely absolutely redemption might have been definitely the culprit might have been definitely like Walker certainly redemption. So definitely to like create for connecting to like the takeout of that the takeout of the cancer gates and his wife towards like Morticia. And that might be like the sole reason for like the recent preference of like Walker at like the home of like Gabriel certainly not very ambition. So it might have been definitely to create all that false evidence to like trap to frame and trap to not be shot. Definitely as like the culprit is definitely not very ambition. And definitely I'm just trying like for like Walker not stopping there and like not different Walker continue his life and basically I'm so Walker might have also like wanted to like the coronation lab of like Dr. Reggie and uh might have created like false evidence there as well to connect like Wednesday as being like the culprit behind like the to falsely frame Wednesday as like the culprit behind like the loss of that Dr. Reddy because like that we have to bring that was up to that lie and tell galping that basically from that stuff that Walker had found that the crucial evidence of like another confession that like hidden away by Dr. Reddy in which like Reddy had written about like uh, Reddy had written about like in that the termination report of like the loss uh, of like the loss of like cancer gates and like quite that Dr. Reddy even back then in like termination report had figured out that basically that Morticia was like the culprit behind like the loss of like cancer gates and his wife but like at that point like Morticia showed up to like Dr. Reddy and like tried Dr. Reddy to that to keep that crucial information report hidden. Might be along the lines of like a confession letter of like Dr. Reggie in like Dr. Reggie's like for very exact same handwriting that like I'm referring like as like a false evidence I'm referring for like a work of like creating and like hiding it somewhere within like the formation room of that work of like of Dr. Reggie's like Dr. Reggie's like personality that I'm referring so definitely and definitely I was bring walk up telling Galton that like he had like just it was like still he extremely secretly set up somewhere within that coordination room and basically even like which even like the foreign 16 had just after like the law of that company. So like definitely not of the difference that like now what might have also set the integrated into like the formation room of like for trading and like Walker might have created like false evidence to like frame Wednesday as as Wednesday uh, uh, connected to like whatever is connected to like Wednesday like person on that the very like day of like the day or night of like when like the take out of that Dr. Reggie had happened. So just remember in that way to that frame Wednesday as being like the culprit who basically that and at that point I'm so different that this much like I'm so different walk up method and we have right now for like walk up to like and then gathering that with that it was that Wednesday that had with me taken out a laptop already and it might have so that at that point I'm the different for walker selling Galpin that like it might have been a scenario where like Dr. Reddy might have met with like Motisha during like the recent parent weekend and like at that point uh like Walker I mean that Reggie might have made job to that Motisha or like him wanting to like convert and rebuild the source and so like that might have preparing like basically Motisha spending Wednesday to like take out like Dr. Reggie to like silence Dr. Reggie might have been and might be out that Dr. Reggie might have gotten taken off might be along the lines of different things that Walker right now without creating a like live and telling Galvin that way to like frame Wednesday as well as like Motisha uh, as like perfect. It's what I'm looking right now for like Walker to like attempt through Galvin is like going to scenario that I'm looking at. I'm not saying